Welcome to Seriously Seinfeld, The Serious Side of Seinfeld, by Rebecca Conrad. I'm Rob Gerard, your narrator. Insight on Seinfeld, the show. Seinfeld came upon the TV scene in 1989, a time when sitcoms were relying on cookie-cutter models to bring a storyline from beginning to end, instead of your typical nuclear family encountering a problem and solving it within 22 minutes. The premise of Seinfeld was quite the opposite, a show about pretty much nothing, in which problems of the main four characters don't generally get resolved at all, largely contributing to what would later become known as the Seinfeld culture. Since its creation, it has been widely known as the show about nothing. But if you really look at the scenes, the episodes, and the 9 seasons, it is not much of a stretch to say that it is actually about anything and everything. Let's face it, waiting to be seated at a Chinese restaurant when you are rushed and hungry is not nothing. It is something, and quite worthy of a sitcom plot that only Seinfeld could perfectly serve up. It is important to note that the show was originally titled The Seinfeld Chronicles, created by Jerry and his pal, Larry David, and did not originally test well with the target audience. Eventually, it was renamed Seinfeld, moved to Thursday nights, and ratings rose as advertisers honed in on the dominating demographic at that time, young adult males. Equally important to note, Jerry and Larry pitched their idea for the sitcom to NBC as a show about how a comedian gets his material. The show about nothing was a joke in an episode years later, but it resonated with people and became the unofficial catchphrase. The fact that a group of neurotic friends with imperfect social skills could become easily likable characters despite their flaws was a major driving force towards the success of the sitcom. This spoke to the TV watching audience, offering them something entirely different to laugh at. Maybe taking your car to the mechanic is funny. Maybe trying to meet up with friends at the movie theater can be really hilarious. The smallest things were integral plot devices, resulting in a new hit show. A phenomenon was born. Yet, no matter how funny a comedian is and how well his supporting cast responds to that, the writers are the key to creating a hit show. They had a formula they followed: identify a problem, have the character try to outsmart the problem, and then the problem outsmarts the character. Jerry Seinfeld himself was one of the main writers, drawing often on his stand-up comedy bits of observational humor and molding them into episodes. The other writers sometimes used their own personal experiences, getting soup from a popular New York City hotspot, for example, but more often than not, they had to come up with the ideas out of thin air constantly and make them work for the allotted time frame, often rewriting and reworking scenes and lines until it was just right. Brilliantly, the more satisfying episodes converged each of the character storylines into one plot. This became more of a common theme for the show as the seasons progressed and was well received by Seinfeld fans. The four main characters' individual traits often worked against them in the plot, resulting in hilarious storylines. George is a great example of this. Balding, he orders hair restoration treatment from China. Often out of work, he was beyond cheap, and sometimes living with his overbearing parents, set the stage for adulthood difficulties, preventing him from having any semblance of a satisfying life. Kramer and Elaine's personalities were also pivotal in the scenes. He, the more physical comedian with crazy ideas, and she, more level headed and always on the lookout for more meaningful relationships, hence her string of never ending boyfriends and career changes. Jerry, the straight man and anchor of the group of four, was more often than not the voice of reason to the others' harebrained ideas and schemes, which was a nice balance in the episodes. The writers knew the episodes had to perfectly capture these quirks without any resolution at the end and keep us wanting more. You may be thinking, Why is any of this important? It's just a TV show, and it ended 23 years ago. To say it is just a TV show is a gross understatement. It has been labeled as one of the top comedy shows of all time for many reasons, some of which are briefly touched upon here. And while comedy and laughter are some of the most important things we have, Seinfeld has brought a whole new level of that to us. You cannot, in all honesty, look back at Seinfeld and think, that could have been done better. Even the way the characters in season one evolved perfectly into themselves should have unfolded exactly as it was, so as to give us appreciation of the perfectly cast show. Seinfeld is as important today as it was in 1989, and maybe even more important now to our well being. The world as we know it has undergone drastic change within the last years. What used to be certain is no more. So much is different, from our jobs to our social interactions to our economies. We are constantly wondering what tomorrow will bring. Will it be worse? When will it get better? Where will we be in 5 short years? We may not know these answers, but we do know that when we hear the quirky intro music and see the outer shot of Jerry's apartment building, that we may be able to escape the uncertainty going on around us, at least for a little while. It gives us a specific comfort, like a long-loved security blanket. And even better, we know we can wrap that around us and laugh about it. Thank you for tuning in to another blog episode of Seriously Seinfeld. And don't forget to join the Facebook groups Seriously Seinfeld and Seinfeld Fanatics. And look for Rebecca Conrad.